So, Kelsey Mitchell. It's looking like she's probably going to go for Indiana. Or at least at this point in time, it's looking like Indiana either don't want to keep her or she wants out. As far as I'm aware, from what people have been saying, again, I'm not been WNBA fanatic, that she has wanted out apparently every year for Indiana. And then, obviously, this is probably the first time she seemed happy. You can see, if you've seen in some of her interviews, she's so happy and she's like, man, you just got to have the high Q to match Caitlin Clark. Get open and she'll find you. But it does seem that, like, this was the one time she kind of seemed happy. And, like, they probably don't want to keep her necessarily right now. And this is a question of whether or not how replaceable Kelsey Mitchell is on the team. And just, in my opinion, not very replaceable, but very replaceable. You're not going to go get a like for Kelsey Mitchell. That just doesn't happen. But for me, you don't need to go like for like. You just need to find something that fits better. So before we get on to, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe, try and hit 26,300 or 400 by the end of the day. We're 12 off. But Kelsey Mitchell is a gunner. I've said it, for better or for worse, she is a gunner in the mold of an Enrique, in the mold of a Jewel Lloyd, in the mold of a... I'm trying to think who else is almost like that. But she, in fairness to her, she's the most efficient because she shoots the ball wide open. Because she has a point guard who will find her wide open. I'm convinced that some of these other players would be shooting almost efficiently if every shot they took, if a lot of shots they took were wide open. But Kelsey Mitchell, when she cuts, when she goes one dribble to the basket, and when she spots up and shoots, she is the best scorer on this team. When she goes dribble, 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 fade away, step back, she misses a lot. And she also has her go-to step back foot on the line long two. That being said, she is a fantastic scorer. If I'm Kelsey Mitchell, I'm doing whatever I can to get to the Golden State Valkyries. I'm doing whatever I can to get to the Valkyries because she would be the number one player on the Valkyrie team. She would. She would be their scorer. It doesn't matter who they bring in. She is their flat-out scorer. She goes and gets herself an all-star. Like, the WNBA players really do respect score-first gunner guards. And to be fair, so do NBA players. J.R. Smiths, Jamal Crawfords, those type of players. The NBA players, the hoopers. Like, she is a hooper. That's the best way to describe it. She is a hooper. And the unfortunate thing is when it comes to basketball is the WNBA is 10 years behind. This archetype has been relegated to a sixth man in every other walk of basketball. Like, even the French national team would not start Marine Johannes. Is Marine Johannes as good as Kelsey Mitchell? No. But she plays a similar way. It is, when I touch the ball, I am shooting. That is an archetype of player that is being effectively eradicated from basketball. And if you are somebody that is... It is something that was really effective in the 90s, when point guards' job was effectively to do what point guards do in the WNBA. Give the ball to your big, or give the ball to your wing and let your wing just go off and shoot whatever shot they want and give the ball to a big. What Caitlin Clark is an equivalent of a NBA point guard. She's an equivalent of almost like a Magic Johnson type player. But the way she plays the game, and by the way, it's not just Caitlin Clark. It is most point guards, like true point guards that have not come true. The Dawn Staley School of Basketball, the Watson School of Basketball, the Gino Auriemma School of Basketball, where they try to teach you the WNBA style. If you've got anything as a point guard, as a password point guard, it's not going to really exist. Like, but she's just a very, very in my opinion, she's a very replaceable player. Like, if I'm Indiana and I want one of these gunner, shoot first, undersized shooting guards, I'm just going to take Hailey Van Lith in the second round and play her off the bench. Like, no, is Hailey Van Lith as good as Kelsey Mitchell? Of course not. But a lineup of, let's just say hypothetically, you replace Kelsey Mitchell with Dejanay Carrington. Anyone being like, no, we don't want Dejanay Carrington, she's talked bad on Caitlin Clark. Who the F cares? Rondo wore a t-shirt that said LeBron is a B word. And if Rondo's not on a 2020 Lakers team, they don't win a championship. I'm not wrong with that. Like, who cares? Basketball's basketball. You pick the best team possible, and especially when it comes to fit. The problem is that Melissa Smith doesn't fit as well. But you find someone in that mold. Maybe you can get Gabby Williams on a long-term deal. I doubt it, because she's playing Fenerbahce. She might be able to come. But you get a Gabby Williams on a long-term deal to pair Caitlin Clark in that backcourt because of her defense and the fact that she can play on or off the ball. She does need the ball a bit too much, so might have to sacrifice some offense. But you get that type of a player. Like, it's not I don't think it's the hardest thing in the world to find a Benijah Laney Hamilton type player. Heck, if you're really stuck, go to Connecticut and be like, look, Dejanay's on your team. We will give you Melissa Smith for Layla Lacan and a second. Just something like that. Just a defensive-minded guard who can play with or without the ball. That is an archetype of player that you want to play beside Caitlin Clark. Even one that's not as good as Kelsey Mitchell, it can be an addition by subtraction situation. Is you get rid of a better player for a worse player who's a better fit. And then when it comes to free agency in 2026, you can get whoever the hell you want. But in the draft, this is the way I would line up around Caitlin Clark. If you can find 2 3-and-D wings, I don't know how easy or hard they are to find. I think they might be pretty hard to find in the WNBA. I look in Europe and try to convince someone to come next year and be like, okay, you come next year, which means you're going to be eligible for more money in 2026. Try find 2 3-and-D players, like great shooters who will play defense. Try to convince Leni Fibic to come for decent money. Make those type of signings. And again, the Liberty won't have enough money to keep Fibic if you offer her probably more than she's worth. Put 2 of those, 2 like those mid-contract players, you go and try find a Neko Umake to put her beside Aaliyah Boston, and that is an ideal 5. So when Neko retires, you're gonna probably try to find somebody else. There are plenty of Temi Fagbenle athletes that just run the floor hard. There are tons of them. You can find better versions of Kate Martin. For people saying, oh, they want Kate Martin on the team. There are better Kate Martins. There are better defensive players who are cool without the ball in their hand, who can sometimes play and make a little bit and just work their asses off. There are better versions of Kate Martin in the WNBA. And that's the thing. You need to find two better Kate Martins, because what Aaliyah Boston is a better version of what Monica Sanano was. You can find a better power forward somewhere, and that power forward should be probably in the mold of like a Hannah Stolke, Temi Fagbenle to just run, because Caitlin can get them 10 points a game. Caitlin and Aaliyah Boston are already the best little big combination in the WNBA as far as how they work off each other. Obviously Jackie Young and AJ are the best, but they're just 2 better players right now. They don't work off each other as well. But it's just those 2 wing spots. It could be an addition by subtraction case where you get a player worse than Kelsey Mitchell, but that just fits the mold better. Kelsey Mitchell is going to be a all-star wherever she goes. She just is. Without question, she's going to be an all-star wherever she goes. But this is a situation where it's like, the team doesn't need a gunner who doesn't play defense. The big problem with the Fever is that none of them can play defense other than Aaliyah Boston. And Caitlin Clark should be the worst defender. For you to have a good team, Caitlin Clark has to be the worst defender on your team, not the second best in your starting 5. That is a huge issue. Caitlin Clark is a bad defender. She's not like absolutely horrendously bad, but she's bad. Kelsey Mitchell's real bad. Katie Lou Samuelson, she tries. She can't guard anyone. And Alyssa Smith is the worst defender in the league. So that's where the issue is like, they need defense more than they need offense. And for everything great that Kelsey Mitchell does, what she does can't be replaced, but her actual impact on the game can be replaced by somebody who will improve the defense by 5. Like, her 17 points is there per game. You can get a 12-point per game scorer who improves your team defense by 6 points over the course of a game. You can get somebody that does that for less money than she's on. So if I'm Kelsey Mitchell, I probably want out of Indiana, because look, I think the team will almost start to phase her. We saw her play 3 minutes or something in a half one game in the first half. So the way teams seem to be, or the way Chrissy sides is like some games she's just not worth being on the floor, and in other games she's their best player. So if you want to be a good team, you can't have a player that is either going to be the best player on the floor or not worth being on the floor. They are players in your Monte Ellis mold that are all-star level players for bad teams. That is what Kelsey Mitchell is at this point in her career. And it's through no fault of her own. She's just been in an incompetent franchise for so long, has developed bad habits, and I don't know how much they fit with Indiana. Can you replace Kelsey Young like for like? No, but they'd be dumb to replace Kelsey Young like for like. Or not Kelsey Young, Kelsey Mitchell like for like. They would be incredibly, incredibly dumb to try to replace her like for like. What they need to do is replace her, use her money to get 2 3-and-D players, the 2 and the 3. Katie Lou can't play defense, or can't shoot right now. And then try to, I would use a second round pick on a Hailey Van Lith. If you just want a spark plug scorer off the bench, there are not many of them. If not, see if you can get Walker Kimbrough for $100,000. That's probably the best way I would go about replacing Kelsey Mitchell if she leaves.